Hot hatch enthusiasts have never had it better, or so we're told. If you take a look around the segment at the moment, there's no shortage of engine and performance technologies, clever all-wheel drive systems and much more. But if you like your hot hatch with a manual transmission, well, it appears as though we're nearing the end of the line. Thankfully, we still have two fresh competitors with a stick shift, the new Ford Focus ST and the Hyundai i30N. In this video, we're going to hit the road and the track to see which is better.
Other than the Renault Megane, these two are the only remaining manual hot hatches left in the mid-size $40,000 segment in Australia, following the recent axing of the Volkswagen Golf GTI stick shift and the Peugeot 308 GTI. The ST is a new generation model borrowing its engine from the Focus RS, while the i30N has recently been updated with a revised rear suspension tune aimed at making it more livable on the road. Though they approach things from different angles, the N and the ST share 3 pedals and a 6-speed manual gearbox.
Now that doesn't make either of these cars dated or old hat. Both have a rev matching function when you're downshifting. Both have adaptive dampers and both have an electronically controlled mechanical limited slip front diff. Now the Focus has a faster 0 to 100 time and more power and torque, but as we know, straight line speed is only one part of the hot hatch equation. The Focus ST is the freshest offering in this comparison, and it makes quite a significant step forward inside in terms of its tech, presentation and safety. There's now a new 8-inch touchscreen atop the dashboard, there's nicer materials throughout the cabin, and there's a pretty neat digital display located within the instrument cluster. It's a little bit weird driving a hot hatch with an electronic parking brake, but all the same, the Focus ST is still a very sporty digger on the road. It's kind of line ball with the i30N. It might be a tad firmer in terms of its ride, and the cabin is a little bit noisier as well. Now you could argue the i30N has a slightly more overt sporting character to it compared to the Focus ST, and I'd argue that from the startup basically. It's got a really bassy idle that's a little bit louder and more noticeable than the Focus ST. It also has heavier steering and there's a slight mechanical premise to the tuning of all the controls. On the road though, it translates to a very livable, very well executed hot hatch. It's got decent storage, it's got the latest safety and tech to ensure that it stays right up there with the Focus ST. It's very hard to get caught out in the i30N, and for a front drive car it's quite a mature setup too, with excellent feeling and feedback from the key controls.
Though little separates these two on the road, not everyone will appreciate the high levels of torque steer in the Focus ST, particularly under heavy acceleration. The Ford is also the louder of the two on coarse chip bitumen. Elsewhere, we liked how analogue the i30N steering feels in this company, and the fact you can split the best traits of its drivetrain, steering and suspension in an individual driver mode setup, a feature sadly lacking in the Ford.
The best way to settle this rivalry is on a circuit. So we've come to Pheasantwood, a 1.3 kilometre long facility halfway between Sydney and Canberra. First up, the Ford. The standout feature with the Focus ST is just how playful it is. It will oversteer on corner entry, and if you drive it positively through the corner, it'll happily oversteer on corner exit as well. It's a really neutral feeling car for a front drive hot hatch, and it certainly doesn't mind swinging its tail. There's a fair bit of torque steer present in the Focus ST, but I think that's deliberate. It actually provides a really visceral feeling to power down and acceleration and adds to the whole experience. I'm not a huge fan of the manual shift in the Focus ST. It's got a long throw and a rubbery shift action, especially when compared to the i30N. Its other drawback is the A-pillar and mirror setup. They really impede vision, especially on this tighter little Marulan circuit. But otherwise, what a car. It's a really playful, neutral front drive hot hatch, and one that has as much fun driven sideways as it does when you're chasing lap times. Jumping behind the wheel of the i30N, that mechanical feeling is much stronger. It's got a shorter, sharper gear shift, there's more meaningful weighting to the steering, and power down is much more clinical. It'll still have a little bit of torque steer compared to the Ford, but it's all about getting down to business. It's a car that really likes to be grabbed by the scruff of the neck and thrown around on circuit, and it answers the call beautifully. The i30N lacks the low-down punch of the Focus ST, but of these two cars, it feels the more stable option when you load it up with high-speed lateral forces. It doesn't mind being playful either, but still a very handy track car. And that's kind of underlined by the fact that when you buy an i30N, you don't void its warranty by visiting a race circuit, which is pretty impressive.
Both cars feel stable under brakes and right at home on a circuit. And although there is an added dimension to the Focus ST in terms of playfulness, it is the i30N that feels more accomplished when pushed, officially lapping Pheasantwood 1 second faster. In terms of cabin, the Focus ST is the plusher of the two, reflective of its more expensive purchase price. Both cars offer usable rear seat areas and ample boot space, however neither features rear air vents. Both cars bode well in terms of ownership prospects too, backed by 5-year warranties, the Hyundai including track usage and 5-star safety.
What's clear is that the Focus ST and the i30N deliver slightly different takes on the hot hatch formula. For the Focus ST, it's a slightly more technical and playful experience, whereas the i30N is more about traditional feel and feedback, as evidenced by our faster lap time. As for which one we'd pick, well, it has to be the Hyundai i30N.